Hi, my name is Meagan Harkins. I am the filmmaker of JOEL BLASS. I was the director, editor, interviewer, everything. I did it all. And it's about my great-grandfather who was in the Mississippi legislature during the 50s and 60s during integration following Brown versus Board. He was also an attorney and later taught at the Ole Miss Law School and later was a Supreme Court justice for Mississippi.
And he's been a long-time server. He was a major in the military as well. I mean, he has a Bronze Star.
Yes.
When did you first decide that you wanted to jump into telling his story? Because, I mean, you're in high school. Or you were in high school.
I'm 17.
Yeah.
So I took a film class when I was in 6th grade. So I was 11 years old, and I was like, oh, cool, I can make, like, a commercial for my school's news. And then later on, last year or 2 years ago, Matt Graves made a documentary about William Winter, who was one of my great-granddad's best friends. So my great-aunt, who lives in Oxford, was like, we have this film festival every year. I think my dad deserves a film. So she kind of got me on board to make one. So her and I toured Mississippi for a week in July of 2015 and just interviewed people. And I had no idea what I was doing. I rented equipment from the Ox Film Society. So I had these super nice cameras, and I'm just winging it, and I figured it out as I went. So the documentary is not technically perfect because I'm a complete beginner, but it tells his story.
And you're from Florida, right?
Yes, Orlando, Florida.
So when you first got out here, had you been back to Mississippi before, or was this your first venture here in Mississippi?
I basically have grown up on the coast visiting my granddad in Pass Christian, so I will always consider 905 East Scenic Drive to be my home. Like, just playing with my cousins in his front yard are my favorite memories. So we used to always visit him every spring break and then, like, during summers and stuff. And then after he passed away, we've started coming to Oxford more, where his daughter, my great-aunt, lives. So we'll come visit them in Oxford, and she taught at Ole Miss. So we've kind of acquainted ourselves with here. And then my mom also went to Mississippi State. So we have the Ole Miss and Mississippi State rivalry.
I've got to ask, there's your great-grandfather, granddaughter, I guess. Yeah, there's a great before it. He was fought against such craziness in this area and fought against the racist side of things where he was very much hated by a lot of people. Mm-hmm. How tough was it to dive into his history and kind of the things that were said about him from that side of the spectrum, where he was very much the guy they didn't want on the Supreme Court even?
Yes, it was interesting because I had always heard stories from him, and he's extremely humble. If he knew that all of this was happening for him, he would be so embarrassed because he never would just talk about things. But sometimes when I would talk to him about his work, and I knew he had done stuff, but I never knew to what extent, he would talk about, he's like, it was really never hard for me because if I'm doing the right thing and I know in my heart that it's right, then why would I ever let anyone second guess that? So for him, it was just kind of do what's right, and whatever happens, but all you can do is control what you do. You can't control others, was kind of his philosophy.
So what was the part of the filming process where you realized, oh, I can do this? That the technical side might be tough, but I've got something here. This is something that really is good.
The technical side definitely was tough, but I think I did my first interview in Oxford. And I did that one, and it was kind of like a family friend, so it wasn't really like a historical perspective. It was more like who JOEL BLASS is as a man. So I did that one, and I was like, okay, that one okay. And then I was supposed to interview William Winter the next day, who's like the big one. William Winter is a big deal. I'm from Florida, and I know that he's a big deal. So I was supposed to have like a day of practice before I went to him. Well, I called him on the way there, like playing doctor, like, hi, I just wanted to remind you, like, we have an appointment tomorrow. He had to reschedule, so we sped down from Oxford to Jackson to meet him. So that was like my first real interview. So that was crazy scary for me, but he was just so nice and gracious, and I learned so much. So I was like, this is important because I learned about the Sovereignty Commission and like the Citizens Council through him. I'm like, this is important, and like he played a big role in this. And William Winters, like, if it weren't for JOEL BLASS, then I wouldn't have taken the stands that I did when he later became governor. So I realized really like the steps that were taken to create the Mississippi that everyone knows today.
Wow. Let's talk about the Mississippi of today. Are you excited to have seen what you've obviously knew but didn't know that your family had impacted this area so much?
Yes, it's very cool because I'm from Florida, and my dad's family's from West Virginia. My mom's family's from Mississippi. So every time I like say my family ties, people are like, "Oh, those two states, like they're the two states." So I'm like, actually, everyone that I meet in Mississippi like has such like knowledge and just is like so aware of everything and just so kind and like tries to do the right thing. So I think it's definitely like broadens my knowledge on that. And I'm like, my family's been a huge part of that transformation in Mississippi from the stereotype that some people still have in their heads. And I'm like, my family is like defying that. So that was really cool to like hear from other people.
So I've got to ask, has the film bug hit you? I mean, is this what you want to do, or was this a one-time thing for you?
I learned that I love film and I love photography and like just the concept of capturing a moment. But documentaries necessarily aren't my thing, is what I've learned. I love doing it, and I would do it again for my grandfather. But for other topics, I probably wouldn't. But I am interested in, like, incorporating film into what I do.
Oh.
So, but not just solely, like, this sort of thing.
So I've got to ask, college-wise, are you leaning towards Mississippi, Florida, West Virginia?
I want to go out of state for sure. Possibly Ole Miss. I toured yesterday. I've also looked into Liberty and stuff. I want to do mission work. So I'm also looking into like more Christian universities. But
where do you want to do mission work? Do you know?
My dream is to go to Africa.
Wow.
Yes.
Very cool. Well, Meagan, we really appreciate it. The film was so knowledgeable. I hadn't heard a lot about it. And then when I watched it, I was like, this isn't a very important figure. So thank you for telling your family story. This is really cool and special.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.